My family kept me out of the inheritance, saying you wouldn't know what to do with it. But when the company tanked, they had no idea what I'd been planning. The day I decided to destroy my family's legacy started like any other Thursday morning at Graham Technologies. I stood in the doorway of my brother Emiliano's corner office watching him dismiss my latest proposal without even looking up from his phone. Ruby, we've been over this. The company doesn't need a digital transformation right now. We're doing fine the old-fashioned way. I'm Ruby Graham, and I've spent 30 years being the family's afterthought, the daughter they never quite knew what to do with. Our competitors are eating into our market share, I pressed, gripping my tablet tighter. We're losing clients because our systems are outdated. I can show you the numbers. Little sister, Emiliano cut me off with that condescending smile I'd grown to hate. Stick to what you're good at. The IT department is cute, but leave the big decisions to those who understand business. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. 3 degrees in computer science and business, and he still treated me like I was 12. My phone buzzed. A message from Valerie. How'd it go? I walked out without another word to my brother. In the elevator, I texted back. Same old story. Meeting for coffee? 20 minutes later, I sat across from Valerie at our usual spot, stirring my latte perhaps a bit too aggressively. I swear, Val, sometimes I think they kept me in IT just to have someone to blame when their computers crash, I said, running a hand through my hair. Valerie leaned forward, her eyes intense. Then why are you still there? Ruby, I've seen your work. The algorithms you developed for their security system, that's genius-level stuff. It's the family business. I sighed. Dad always said, your dad handed everything to your brothers on a silver platter, Valerie interrupted. And now Emiliano's running it into the ground while Hayden plays yes man. My other brother Hayden at least had the decency to look uncomfortable during board meetings, but he never stood up to Emiliano either. You should see the books, I muttered, lowering my voice. We're hemorrhaging money, but nobody wants to admit it. Dad's retired, but still thinks everything's fine because Emiliano keeps feeding him BS reports. So what are you going to do about it? I looked up, surprised by the challenge in Valerie's voice. What can I do? I'm just the little sister who graduated top of her class at MIT, Valerie cut in, who developed 3 patented security protocols before turning 25, who could probably build a better company from scratch if she wasn't so busy playing the good daughter. I stared into my coffee, letting her words sink in. My phone buzzed again. A message from Sarah, our family advisor. Your brother rejected another major client. We need to talk. They'll never take me seriously, I said quietly. Not while I'm under their roof. Valerie reached across the table and grabbed my hand. Then maybe it's time to build your own roof. I looked at my best friend. Really looked at her. Valerie had been trying to get me to partner with her on a startup for months. I'd always refused, citing family loyalty. What if I started slowly, an idea taking shape? What if we did it in secret, built something of our own while I stay at Graham Tech, gathering intel? Valerie's eyes lit up. Now you're thinking like a CEO. They'd never see it coming, I continued, feeling a spark of excitement for the first time in years. They don't even bother reading tech news. They wouldn't notice until you're too big to ignore, Valerie finished, grinning. My phone buzzed one more time. A group text from Dad. Family dinner tonight. Attendance mandatory. Your mother's making pot roast. I showed Valerie the message and rolled my eyes. Another chance to hear about how amazing my brothers are. Perfect, Valerie said. Go. Play the part. But starting tomorrow, we're building your empire. I sat back, a plan forming in my mind. You know what? You're right. I'm done being the family disappointment. It's time they learned what their little IT girl can really do. That's my girl. Valerie raised her coffee cup. To new beginnings? I clinked my cup against hers, feeling something shift inside me. To new beginnings, and maybe just maybe to making them regret ever underestimating me. As we left the coffee shop, I was already mentally drafting business plans. They thought keeping me in IT was keeping me in my place. They never considered that from my little corner of their kingdom, I could see everything, every weakness, every vulnerability, every mistake. They'd learned soon enough. The black sheep of the family was about to become their worst nightmare. 6 months flew by like a caffeine-fueled fever dream. By day, I played the dutiful sister at Graham Technologies. By night, Valerie and I built our startup, Ruby Secure, from the ground up in her garage-turned-office. Another all-nighter? Valerie asked, sliding a fresh coffee across our makeshift desk. Really just an old door balanced on sawhorses. Worth it, I said, spinning my laptop around. Look at these test results. Our AI security protocol just caught every single breach attempt in the simulation. Valerie leaned in, her eyes widening. Ruby, this is incredible. Traditional firewalls didn't even detect half of these threats. And that's not even the best part, I grinned, pulling up another window. It adapts. Every attack makes it stronger. It's exactly what I tried to implement at Graham Tech, but Emiliano said it was unnecessarily complex. My phone buzzed, speaking of the devil. A text from Hayden. M's calling an emergency board meeting. Something about Q3 projections. Go, Valerie said before I could speak. Keep up appearances. I'll finish the investor pitch deck. 2 hours later, I sat in Graham Tech's plush boardroom watching Emiliano tap dance around the fact that we'd lost 3 major clients in 2 months. It's just a temporary setback, he assured the board, shooting me a glare when I snorted quietly. Our traditional approach has served us well for 30 years. Traditional won't cut it anymore, I spoke up, earning surprised looks from around the table. Our competitors are offering AI-driven solutions while we're still pushing manual monitoring. Here we go again. Emiliano rolled his eyes. Ruby, not everything needs to be automated. Our clients appreciate the human touch. Really? I pulled up an email on my tablet. Is that why MaxiCorp just jumped ship to next-gen security? Their CEO specifically cited our outdated infrastructure as the reason. Sarah, our advisor, nodded grimly. She has a point, Emiliano. We can't ignore. I'm not taking technical advice from my baby sister, Emiliano snapped. This meeting is adjourned. Later that evening, my phone lit up with an unknown number. Ruby Graham? Speaking? This is Marcus Thompson from Venture Capital Partners. Your friend, Valerie, sent over your pitch deck. I'd love to discuss it further. Are you free for lunch tomorrow? I stepped into my apartment's hallway, heart pounding. Absolutely, Mr. Thompson. Please call me Marcus. I have to say your AI security solution is unlike anything I've seen. The adaptive learning capabilities alone. The next day, Valerie and I sat across from Marcus in a high-end restaurant, watching him flip through our business plan. Your prototype results are impressive, he said, setting down his fork. But what makes you sure you can compete with established players? I pulled out my tablet because I know exactly what they're missing. Take Graham Technologies for instance. Their market share has dropped 15% in the last quarter because they refuse to innovate. Their clients are desperate for exactly what we're offering. Marcus raised an eyebrow. You seem very familiar with their operations. I should be, I smiled. I'm the head of IT, or at least I am for now. Isn't that a conflict of interest? Not at all. I developed this technology independently on my own time. Everything's properly documented and legally clear. Marcus sat back studying me. You know, most people would be afraid to go up against a family business. Most people haven't spent their entire careers being underestimated by their own family. He nodded slowly, then reached for his briefcase. Well, Miss Graham, I think we might have something here. How does $5 million in seed funding sound for starters? Valerie gripped my arm under the table as I maintained my composure. That sounds like a good beginning. Later that night, as we celebrated in our garage office, Valerie raised her champagne glass to Ruby Secure's first big break, to showing them what unnecessarily complex can do. I clinked my glass against hers. My phone buzzed. Hayden again. Ruby, things are worse than M's letting on. Any chance we could talk privately? I showed Valerie the message. She smirked. Looks like someone's finally noticing the ship is sinking. Should I meet with him? Absolutely. The more intel, the better. I texted back. Tomorrow, coffee shop on 5th, 8 a.m. Valerie topped off our glasses. You know, your brothers are going to lose their minds when they realize what you've built. I thought about Emiliano's dismissive smirk, about years of being relegated to the kids' table at family functions, about every time they talked over me in meetings. Good, I said, raising my glass again. It's about time they realized their baby sister grew up. The prototype hummed quietly in the corner, its screens displaying a steady stream of court threats. Soon, very soon, they'd all see exactly what I was capable of. I arrived early at the coffee shop, choosing a corner table where I could watch Hayden's approach through the window. He showed up exactly on time, looking more disheveled than I'd ever seen him. Thanks for meeting me, he said, slumping into the chair. I didn't know who else to talk to. What's going on, Hayden? He glanced around before leaning forward. We're in trouble, Ruby. Real trouble. Emiliano's been cooking the books. I kept my face neutral, though my heart raced. How bad? Bad enough that if the board finds out, we're done. He ran a hand through his hair. We've been operating at a loss for months. M's been moving money around to hide it, but you can't hide red ink forever, I finished. There's more. Hayden's voice dropped even lower. Remember that big government contract M was bragging about at dinner last month? I nodded, taking a sip of coffee. He faked the security certification requirements. If anyone audits us, my phone buzzed. A text from Savannah, Emiliano's wife. Need to talk. It's urgent. Lunch today. Does Savannah know? I asked Hayden. He shook his head. M doesn't tell her anything anymore, but she's not stupid. She's been asking questions. I texted back. 1230 Italian Place on Main. What are you going to do? I asked Hayden. He looked miserable. What can I do? He's my brother, our brother. He's also committing fraud. Ruby, please just help me figure out how to fix the security systems. Maybe if we can actually deliver what we promised. It doesn't work that way, Hayden. You can't retroactively fix fraud. My phone buzzed again. Sarah this time. Board meeting tomorrow. Bring your department's numbers. Something's not adding up. Hayden stood up. I should go. Can't know we talked. Hayden, I called after him. Be careful. At 12:30, I sat across from Savannah watching her push pasta around her plate. I found something, she said finally, in Emiliano's home office. Documents about offshore accounts, shell companies. Why are you telling me this? Savannah looked up, her eyes tired. Because you're the only one who sees him for what he is. Hayden's too loyal. Your father's too proud. But you've always known, haven't you? Known what? That he's a fraud. That he's been destroying everything your grandfather built. I studied her carefully. What do you want from me, Savannah? Help me stop him before he takes us all down with him. My phone lit up. Valerie. Major tech blog wants to interview you about Ruby Secure. What should I tell them? Savannah caught the name on my screen. Ruby Secure? The new security startup everyone's talking about? Her eyes widened. That's you? I hesitated, then nodded. Oh my God, she whispered. Does Emiliano know? Not yet. A slow smile spread across her face. Good. Keep it that way. At least until what? Until you're strong enough to take him down. Back at the garage office that evening, I filled Valerie in. This is perfect, she said, pacing excitedly. We can use this. The timing couldn't be better. It feels wrong, I admitted, using their weakness. Wrong? Valerie stopped pacing. Like how they used your loyalty, your talent. Ruby, they're about to implode anyway. At least this way, you can save the company's employees. My phone buzzed yet again. An anonymous email. Thought you might find these interesting. Attached were documents showing Emiliano's detailed scheme to defraud investors. Who sent this? Valerie asked, reading over my shoulder. I have a guess, I said, thinking of Savannah's determined face. What are you going to do? I stared at the documents, years of dismissal and disrespect flashing through my mind. I'm going to that board meeting tomorrow, and I'm going to watch them squirm. And then, I smiled. I'm going to make them an offer they can't refuse. My phone lit up one final time. Dad, dinner on Sunday. Your mother misses you. I showed Valerie the message. Should I go? Of course, she grinned. It might be your last chance to play the dutiful daughter before everything changes. I looked at our prototype, now housed in a proper server rack, then at the damning documents on my screen. You know what the funny thing is? They always told me I was too soft for business. Well, Valerie raised her coffee cup. Here's to proving them wrong. Tomorrow would change everything. The board meeting would expose the first cracks in Emiliano's facade, and I would be there to watch it crumble. The question was, when the dust settled, would anything be left of our family? The board meeting was a powder keg waiting to explode. I sat quietly watching Sarah methodically dismantle Emiliano's facade with a stack of financial reports. These numbers don't match our filed statements, she said, her voice cutting through the tension. Would anyone care to explain the discrepancy? Emiliano's confident smile flickered. There must be some mistake in the accounting. No mistake, Sarah interrupted, sliding more papers across the table. We've lost 6 major clients in the past quarter alone. Our security certifications are being questioned, and there's a significant amount of money moving through accounts I can't trace. I caught Hayden's eye across the table. He looked like he might throw up. If I may, I spoke up, opening my laptop. I have the IT department's security audit results. This isn't the time, Ruby, Emiliano snapped. Actually, Sarah said, it's exactly the time. Please continue, Ruby. I connected my laptop to the projector. Our current security infrastructure is critically outdated. We're vulnerable to at least 17 different types of cyber attacks, the certification we claimed for the government contract. We don't meet even half the requirements. The room erupted in murmurs. Emiliano's face turned red. That's enough. He slammed his hand on the table. This meeting is not adjourned, Sarah cut in. The board has questions that need answering. My phone buzzed. Valerie. Tech Insider just published their piece about Ruby Secure. It's going viral. Right on cue, one of the board members held up his tablet. Emiliano, have you seen this? A new security startup is revolutionizing the industry. Their AI-driven approach is exactly what Ruby's been proposing for years. Emiliano grabbed the tablet, his face draining of color as he read. His eyes snapped to me. I smiled sweetly. Yes? Before he could respond, the boardroom door burst open. Savannah strode in holding a USB drive. Sorry I'm late, she said, not sounding sorry at all. But I think the board needs to see this. Savannah, what are you doing? Emiliano stood up, showing them the truth. She plugged the drive into the projector. About the offshore accounts, the shell companies, all of it. The next hour was chaos. Documents flashed across the screen. Proof of Emiliano's fraud, faked certifications, everything. I watched my brother's empire crumble in real time. This is a witch hunt, he sputtered. You can't prove actually, Sarah said. We can. The SEC will be very interested in these records. My phone buzzed again. Dad, what's happening at the office? Emiliano's not answering his phone. I ignored it, watching Hayden finally find his voice. How long? He asked Emiliano. How long have you been lying to us? I was protecting us, Emiliano shouted out. Protecting our legacy. By committing fraud? I stood up. By destroying everything grandfather built? You? He pointed at me, realization dawning. Ruby Secure. That's your company, isn't it? You've been planning this. Planning what? To succeed where you failed? To build something legitimate while you played shell games with our family's reputation? The board members were whispering among themselves. Sarah cleared her throat. In light of these revelations, I moved to suspend Emiliano from his position immediately, pending a full investigation. You can't do this. Emiliano looked around wildly. Dad won't allow. Dad's retired, I reminded him. And you're about to be under federal investigation. My phone lit up. Valerie again. 3 of Graham Tech's biggest clients just reached out. They want meetings with Ruby Secure. Hayden caught my eye nodding slightly. I knew what he was thinking. There might still be a way to save the company, but not with Emiliano at the helm. I'll have security escort you out, Sarah told Emiliano. Don't remove anything from your office. As security led him away, he stopped beside me. You planned this, all of it. My own sister. No, Emiliano. You did this. I just built a better mousetrap while you were busy burning bridges. After he left, Sarah turned to me. I assume Ruby Secure might be interested in acquiring certain assets. We might be, I smiled, once the dust settles. Later that night, I sat with Valerie in our office, watching our stock price soar following the Tech Insider article. Think your dad's seen it yet? She asked. Probably. He's left 6 voicemails I haven't listened to. Are you going to call him back? I looked at my phone at the missed calls from family members who never bothered to call before today. Eventually, I said. But first, we have a company to save. Just not the one they expected. Valerie raised her glass. To the power of being underestimated. I clinked my glass against hers, thinking of Emiliano's face when he realized who had really outmaneuvered him. To karma, I replied, and to finally playing my own game. The media storm hit faster than anyone expected. By morning, every tech blog was running stories about Graham Technologies' collapse and Ruby Secure's meteoric rise. I sat in our now legitimate office space watching the chaos unfold on multiple screens. Another interview request, Valerie announced, waving her phone. Forbes this time. Tell them. My phone buzzed. Dad again. This time, I answered. Hello, Ruby? His voice sounded older than I remembered. We need to talk. Family meeting tonight. I'm pretty busy. This isn't a request. The line went dead. Valerie raised an eyebrow. The summons finally came? Before I could respond, Sarah walked in looking exhausted. The SEC just arrived at Graham Tech. It's a full investigation now. How bad is it? I asked. Bad enough that Emiliano might be facing jail time. She sat down heavily. Your father's beside himself. My phone lit up with a text from Hayden. M's gone missing. Savannah's worried he might do something stupid. Perfect timing, I muttered, showing Sarah and Valerie the message. You need to go to that family meeting, Sarah said firmly. Show them you're still part of this family even if I helped expose their golden boy as a fraud, even then. That evening, I pulled up to my parents' house where multiple cars already lined the driveway. Hayden met me at the door. Heads up, he whispered. Dad's been drinking. The tension in the living room was thick enough to cut. Mom sat rigid in her armchair while Dad paced by the fireplace. Savannah huddled in a corner looking worried. Well, Dad said as I entered, here's our tech genius. Happy now, Ruby? You've destroyed your brother's life. Emiliano destroyed his own life, I replied calmly. I just built a better company. A better. Dad laughed bitterly. You went behind our backs, stabbed your own family. Like you went behind my back, I interrupted, giving my brothers control of a company I helped build, ignoring every suggestion I made. You were in IT. I was in IT because you put me there. Because God forbid the daughter have any real power in the family business. Savannah stepped forward. Emiliano's been calling me. He's talking crazy, saying he's going to expose everyone. Expose what? Mom asked sharply. That's what I'd like to know, I said, looking at Dad. What else is he hiding? Dad's face paled slightly. Nothing. He's just upset. My phone buzzed. A message from an anonymous number with attachments. I opened them and felt my breath catch. "Dad," I said slowly, "want to explain why your signature is on these offshore transfers? Dating back 5 years?" The room went silent. Hayden moved to look at my phone, his face hardening. "You knew," he said to Dad. "You knew what Em was doing." "I was protecting this family," Dad shouted. "The market was changing." You needed to commit fraud?" I asked. "To fake certifications? To put everyone at risk?" "Ruby," Mom spoke up. "Surely, there's something you can do? Your new company could buy what's left of Graham Tech," I finished. "Clean up this mess legally, but there would be conditions." "What conditions?" Dad demanded. "I run everything. No interference, no backseat driving, and you both retire completely." "You can't." "I can, and I will. Because right now, I'm your only option." My phone buzzed again. "Valerie, 3 more Graham Tech clients just signed with us. Stock's up 40%. Think carefully," I told my parents, because Emiliano's not the only one facing jail time if these documents go public. Dad slumped into a chair, suddenly looking every bit his age. "You're blackmailing us. I'm offering you a way out more than you ever offered me." Hayden cleared his throat. "I'll back Ruby. She's right. It's the only way to save anything." "Hayden." Dad looked betrayed. "I'm done enabling this," Hayden said firmly. "Ruby knows what she's doing. She always did." My phone lit up one more time. "Sarah, SEC wants to interview your father tomorrow. Time's running out." I held up my phone. "Tick-tock, Dad. What's it going to be?" The silence stretched for what felt like hours. Finally, Mom stood up. "Accept her offer, Robert," she said quietly, "before we lose everything." Dad looked at me. Really looked at me. Maybe for the first time in years. "When did you get so hard?" "When you taught me that being soft meant being ignored." I headed for the door. "You have until morning to decide. After that, I can't help you." As I left, I heard Mom start to cry. Part of me wanted to go back to comfort her, but that part was getting smaller every day. In my car, I texted Valerie, "Get the paperwork ready. Tomorrow, we either save Graham Tech or watch it burn." Her response was immediate. "Either way, you win." I wasn't so sure about that anymore, but it was too late to stop now. Morning brought a flurry of messages. The first was from Emiliano. "You think you've won? Watch the news at 9. The second was from Dad. "We'll take the deal." The third was from Sarah. "Emergency meeting now. Emiliano's threatening to go public." I rushed to Graham Tech's offices where chaos reigned. Reporters camped outside the entrance, and security struggled to maintain order. Sarah met me at a side door. "He's lost his mind," she said, hurrying me through back corridors. "He scheduled a press conference in 30 minutes. The boardroom was packed. Dad sat at the head of the table looking defeated. Mom wasn't there. Hayden paced by the windows while Savannah typed frantically on her phone. "He's not answering my calls," Savannah said. "But he sent